Curry Barker is speaking my language with his new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reimagining. Let's talk a little bit about it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I want to be a fighter, like you.
Oh, let it burn! Let it burn!
Did you miss me?
You have to shoot them in the head. They always come back.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Good luck.
Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake. Today we have some really exciting horror updates, playing a little catch up on some things you might have missed from last week or even this weekend. Before we get into all of this, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to this page for more horror update videos just like this one. Also, please consider supporting the page on Patreon if you want to see uncut and uncensored versions of the reaction videos that go up on this page all the time. In fact, we just kicked off season 2 of Dexter. That video is out now for channel members and will release publicly next Monday. All right, enough shameless plugs. Let's get into the news. Damian McCarthy's third feature, Hokum, opened to $6.4 million during its opening weekend, which literally just concluded a few hours ago. It's totally deserved, as Hokum is easily going to end up on many a top 10 lists by the time we get to the end of December. Considering that the reported budget of Hokum was about $5 million, I imagine this one is going to be profitable in the coming weeks. Adam Scott and Damian McCarthy, I mean, that's a heavenly recipe for some good horror, baby. Speaking of which, Adam Scott appeared recently on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and he had some really interesting things to say not only about this film, but also his first horror film, Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines. So first and foremost, they talked a little bit about Hokum, about how the festival screenings were filled to the brim with a bunch of seasoned horror fans that were still screaming and freaking out at all the different jump scares. There are a lot of good ones in there, man. I mean, right off the rip, there's something, no spoilers, but oh my god, that one got me even. Adam also mentioned that some horror fan peed their pants while watching this film. It's that scary. It's not quite puke like a Terrifier film, but pee's still pretty bad. The best part of this interview, though, was Adam Scott talking about how he auditioned for Hellraiser 6 Hellseeker after already being in Hellraiser Bloodlines. Spoilers, I guess, for the 1996 film, but he does die in that movie. The calzone-loving Innie and Outie said on Late Night with Seth Meyers, "My agent sent me an audition for Hellraiser 6, and I thought, wait a second, I was in Hellraiser 4. So I said, screw it, maybe they won't notice that I was in Hellraiser 4. Sadly, they must have noticed that he was in Hellraiser 4 because he did not get the role in Part 6. That would have been pretty damn sweet, though. Adam Scott in Part 4 is like a flashbang because he has such a recognizable face, and you're like, oh my god, that's Adam Scott in this weird-ass Hellraiser sequel. But maybe an even weirder one is, did you know that Henry Cavill is in Part 7? Also very recognizable pre-Superman. Everyone's got to start somewhere, man, and usually that place is horror. Joe Dante, the director of many a horror classic, recently screened a never-before-seen assembly cut of Gremlins. This version of the beloved 1984 horror flick runs almost an hour longer, features extensive alternate takes, deleted character moments, and more Gremlin madness. Ian Grant, owner of the Gremlins Museum, an online archive and showcase for the Gremlins franchise, digitized and restored a personal VHS copy of the assembly cut that Joe Dante actually gave him. Director Micheline Pitt was actually at the screening. We've had her on the page before. She's lovely. And she tweeted out afterwards, "It was amazing. The original is perfect, but to see the expansion of the characters in the film as well as so much more Mogwai and Gremlins madness was so special. I hope it can find a way for others to see it." Well, with Gremlins 3 on the way coming at the end of next year, I really hope we get to see this maybe in theaters at some point. As you guys likely know from watching some of my other videos, this summer is going to be an onslaught of crazy horror releases, and it's not stopping basically until August, and then even going further than that, because then we got spooky season. Us horror fans are eating good. For dessert, however, we are gonna have some ice cream treats, as on August 7th, we are getting Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. The film just got a brand new still of Darren Baker playing the principal, who I think is getting his head smashed by a kid right now. It could be some red ice cream on his shirt, considering that all of the other kids in the background here have it all over their faces, but I feel like this principal is definitely dying in this sequence. That's why the children are all excited and happy. One thing is for certain, however, the effects are going to look pretty damn amazing in this flick. The carnage candy for this film was created by Adrienne Moreau, who won an Oscar for Best Makeup and Hairstyling for 2022's The Whale. Steve Newburn also did some of the practical effects on this film, and him and Adrienne did the practical effects for Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's previous horror film. On top of that, friend of the channel, Josh Petrino, did a lot of the VFX work work on the flick as well. Don't be crapping on VFX now. All of the good practical effects in today's modern space cleaned up with VFX 99% of the time. This movie is going to melt some faces and some ice cream cones on August 7th. I cannot wait for it. We just got a ton of new stills from Evil Dead Burn. First and foremost is this kind of dark, not that dark, shot of some of our family members looking at something over in the distance in horror. There are a ton of things to say about this shot, but maybe my number one thing is that Maud Davey, the actress playing Grandma here in the wheelchair, I think is absolutely becoming a pretty brutal deadite. We also have some of our first looks at Lucianne Buchanan's character drinking a fucking candle as a deadite. Now, we don't actually see her drinking hot candle wax from today's stills, but we did hear back at CinemaCon days in April that yes, there is footage of this character sipping on some candle wax. That is so uniquely fucked up. I love it and I hate it. I love it, but my God, I'm terrified to see that. You ever like accidentally spill a candle on you and it's like, ooh, ow. Imagine that in your throat. You couldn't pay me to suck off Lumiere. A new teaser trailer for Backrooms came out last week, and it may have just given us our first shot of some of the monsters in this flick.
Something else in here?
What we know about the monsters and entities in the Backrooms is that they actually grow from some sort of bacteria. That's why there's government workers in hazmat suits trying to study these things, but sadly, every time they see human beings, they just attack them and try to kill them. It also seems as if they want to escape into the real world. What happens when that happens? I'm excited to find out on May 29th when this one finally releases in theaters. While Backrooms fans are rejoicing over their new movie adaptation, Resident Evil fans aren't really in the same boat. It's something we've been covering on this page for some time now, but director Zach Cregger has talked a little bit about some of the Easter eggs from the game that are visible in the latest teaser trailer. During an interview with IGN, Zach Cregger actually pointed out that there's a green herb in the teaser trailer that just released. He specifically said there's a plant screen left over his right shoulder. You can kind of see it. In the movie, the shot pulls out further and you can see it better. I took the green herb from Resident Evil 4 and I replicated the bucket exactly. Even though this probably lives in the world of Resident Evil 2, I just wanted to use a little bit of 4 in here just because it's my favorite. And I have some other items from 4 scattered around in the movie that people will notice. So like, there's Easter eggs to the video game. That's pretty cool. I don't know, man. I just think when it comes to video game adaptations, if your director isn't necessarily putting their own spin on it, they're just making Welcome to Raccoon City again. Like, do we really want the Minecraft movie, but with Resident Evil characters where it's literally just all about references and telling the exact same story you already know very well? I just don't understand that. If we're getting a new thing in a franchise, whether that's a new movie, video game, story, song, whatever, I want something new. I think that's why I loved Resident Evil Requiem so much. It captures the best from this franchise, utilizing play styles of both Resident Evil 7 as well as the Resident Evil 4 remake and kind of slapping that together to do something new. Sure, there's a lot of nostalgia in Resident Evil Requiem as well. You get to go back to Raccoon City, you get to play as Leon Kennedy, but that story is great outside of those things. I honestly think the new locations in Resident Evil Requiem were the best part of the entire game. It always makes me sad when you see franchise fans just wanting like some sort of big explosion at the movie theaters, a movie that'll be forgotten in a couple of weeks versus something that's actually going to stand the test of time. I mean, we're still talking about film adaptations like The Shining almost 50 years later because it's a really great movie that is nothing like the book. Do we really want a new Resident Evil movie that's just the Minecraft movie? It's a fun theater experience and then no one talks about it like pretty much ever again afterwards. Me personally, I'd rather get the former. I want a Resident Evil movie that we're still talking about years and years and years from now. This ought to be that. Probably my favorite update from today's video, however, is Curry Barker finally elaborating a little more on some plot details of his Texas Chainsaw Massacre reimagining. Giving us some early details on what he plans to do with the 10th installment of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Curry Barker recently said that the potential for this series has not been fully realized. He also wants to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre that's not just about a guy chasing people around with a chainsaw, something with some heart to it. In the same Total Film interview, he stated, "You care about these characters and want to see them survive, and you know know it's brutal. I especially agree with this considering the state of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I had fun with the 2022 movie, but I'm also willing to admit that it's not a very good Texas Chainsaw Massacre flick. It's a fun turn your brain off slasher, but that's about it. Leatherface, I would argue, is not your typical slasher villain. He's, in the original film at least, manipulated by his family into going out and killing people, chopping them up. Clearly, Leatherface is not all there, and the environment that he's currently in, at least in the 1974 film, is not so great for his mental health. I almost feel some sympathy for Leatherface, and I've always felt that the family was the true antagonist. Some of the other sequels have gotten that right as well. I think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a highly underrated horror comedy, and the 2003 remake, as well as its prequel film, pretty damn good watches as well. Curry Barker thankfully gets that the family is such a necessary and maybe my favorite element of the entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. Total Film posted a part 2 video of their interview with Curry Barker, where the young filmmaker said, "I want to do something different. I'm not going to stray away from what we know, but making it stronger. I want to lean into the uncomfortability of the family. I want to lean into the rawness of what's going on there. There's some really messed up stuff happening at that farm. I genuinely feel as if there's so much potential for that concept that has not been realized. You know what I mean?" Yes, Curry. Oh my god, yes, I know what you mean. Based on what I've seen in the movie Obsession, which comes out on May 15th, no spoilers yet, but if you miss it, you're frankly missing out on the best horror movie that's going to release this year. Just straight up. That movie is filled to the brim with uncomfortable moments and brutal viscera. I think Curry Barker's Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to marinate its audience for a little bit. Like I was saying in previous videos, you're gonna have your teen characters in their van, it breaks down, they run into the Sawyer family. But I think instead of the Sawyer family immediately trying to cut these people up, just use them as meat on a hook essentially, I think we're gonna have to suffer through some really uncomfortable moments at their house this time around. Like, imagine something similar to the dinner sequence at the end of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Sally Hardesty doesn't know that these are cannibal killers yet. Maybe starting to get the idea that something is fucked up and wrong here, but not quite 100% sure. I feel like once everyone sees Obsession, they're gonna see the vision of what this Texas Chainsaw Massacre could look like. And just based on some of the things Curry Barker is talking about here alone, I truly believe it could be one of the best sequels, if not the best sequel, in the entire series. I already see people bitching and moaning about this online. They're like, what's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie without the guy ripping people to shreds with a chainsaw? That's not what he's saying. Come on, that's so not what he's saying. Of course, at some point, we're gonna get Leatherface chopping somebody in half with a chainsaw, but there's some other horrors to be explored here that are oftentimes thrown aside just to make sure that this is a slasher movie first and foremost. I mean, my god, we've had 50 years of dudes with chainsaws chopping people up. We can do more than just that in a good horror flick. Curry Barker understands that, and that's why I think this Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be the best since 1974. Lots of excitement today, ladies and gentlemen. How do you guys feel about all these updates? Which one was your favorite? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.